and so on and so on. 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 And so on and so on.
In the Žižek response book, you mentioned an emendation system. I don't know if you remember talking about. Is that an example of trying to?
Yeah, I thought it was. Slavoj hated that idea. He thought he's like, oh, great critique, and then what a terrible alternative this was. Yeah, I kind of liked that, and I mean, he was a little convincing to me that it was maybe too weak, but I do like that idea of like something that like that's like emendation instead of amendment, right? Like the idea that you're actually like installed some kind of fundamental ability to change all the time into the structure of the system. I do like I was pretty happy with myself until I read his response that I was less happy. But
when I read it, I thought, oh, this is a bit dumb. This is a bit weak. And then we did an episode on it and we were critical of it. And a week later, it just kept coming back to me. This happens to me a lot with your writing, where it seems simple to me at first, or something that I already know, and then it sits with me and comes back, and I'm just haunted by it. I'm like, fuck, that was a really good example, actually.
That's very nice, Michael. Except I think it's because you've been pounded on the head with stupidity too many times, and then you're like, okay, I give up. I think that's the process you're describing, actually. No, that's true. I mean, my twins are constantly saying, like, why do people think you're smart? You're so simple. You just say the simplest things. But that is true. That's what I do. Like, I translate things that I read that are for me impossible to understand into terms that are very as simple as I can make them, just so I can understand. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do.
Yeah, well, while I'm discussing that, I'm also on your side with this thing. Like I heard you say the other day, there's a point talking about fantasy where you broaden it or extend it so far that it basically covers everything and then it becomes meaningless. Or we were interviewing Matthew Flisfetter once, and I was trying to really hammer him on the distinction between desire and drive for his algorithmic desire book. Yeah. And I could just tell the moment I was like, the moment I asked him, this just kind of sigh came over him, and it's just like worn down. Like, come on, what's the fucking difference? Like, at some point, you know, like we don't need to argue over these really pathetic terms.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way now with alienation and separation. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm with you.
Yeah. I just can't get into that kind of. I just think jargon is I think it's a killer. You know, like I think you can, if you're in a little group and there's a jargon attached to it, I think you can get attached to the jargon, and then you can have these arguments about some kind of issue that's not even, it doesn't even matter, right?
Yeah.
And I think that really is the thing to try to watch out for. So.
Yeah, is it the master signifier or is it the pointer capitan?
I know.
Where's one? Where's
right.
all of that, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can ask this next one, Tim, on the politics of non-belonging.
You write that one must see the other's alienation as the basis for the shared bond that exists. Without this recognition, one substantializes the other, which is the foundation of the oppressive relation. How does left and right alienation work? Is there a politics of non-belonging through alienation?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that the politics of non-belonging is a result of embracing alienation. So I think there's a kind of, in a way, like this book is sort of propedeutic to the Enjoying Right and Left book, right? Like, it's, even though it comes out, it's a prequel in a certain sense, right? I think it's I just saw an unfortunate prequel, Furiosa. Did you guys see that?
I haven't seen it yet. No good.
Nah, I liked Fury Road quite a bit, but it's interesting how, and this is tied to this question, like a prequel can do a great thing, right? Like, it can show by showing how a thing arises, it can expose like it can undercut, like it can show how all your assumptions are you should, you have to give them up. Like I think Fire Walk with Me is the great prequel example. But I think the danger is it can de-eventalize what happens in the earlier thing, right? Like I think that's what happens in Furiosa, right? Like so she's like, there's a kind of almost event that Furiosa performs in Fury Road, and then it just, we see all the causes for it, and then it sort of loses its radicality. But I think, sorry, that's a little detour. Back to the alienation question. I feel like that it creates this society of non-belonging, and I think the right and left question is, I think that I don't think this is a confined danger, like the flight from alienation. Like I think maybe you'd say like, oh, it's easier to see on the right, like the way that a certain kind of identity becomes. Yeah, I think that's true, but I think we see today the way that there's a lot of flight from alienation on the left too, right? Like and even when I hear people say like tribalism or whatever, then I always think like, oh, that's a way to like find this identity that's going to provide you respite from that's why I think it's really important to go into the hostile territory, right? And engage with the other people, because then you really feel yourself as you feel your alienation. So I think that's an important thing for people to do on the left, to not just give up a certain kind of say, I don't want to confront that, or I mean, it's tied to the canceling idea, right? Like if you like it's the attempt to cancel someone is to say, like, they're forcing me to confront my own alienation. I don't want to have to deal with that, and we shouldn't have to deal with that.
Whilst we're on the topic of prequels and that kind of thing, I was wondering, because like the working title for this interview or episode is Making Friends with Alienation, and I've made this 30-second video trailer using the Friends introduction. It's quite fun, but I'm bringing it up because the original theme song was REM's Shiny Happy People, rather than I don't even know the name.
So on Friends.
Yeah.
On Friends. Wow, I did not know that. Okay.
So they
did they use it ever, or they just...
No, so they shot it. It's recorded. It's got the title card. It's got the, Jennifer Aniston, blah, 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 with the Shiny Happy People. I'll send you the link to it because it's quite interesting. But I was thinking about, like prequels for me are a way of prolonging the end. But thinking about beginnings in general, like the problem of beginnings rather than the problem of end, because you guys have covered this countless times on Why Theory, the cut of the end, retroactivity, et cetera, but the beginnings have this massive problem too. We accept beginnings more willingly, I think, in narrative. Prequels can, like you say, provide an encounter that thwarts that original understanding, et cetera.
Yeah.
But lost beginnings, like in defense of lost beginnings, alienation seems to me to be a big problem about beginnings, how we relate to beginnings and the production of something beyond this previous state prior to entering into the symbolic order.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a great question, Michael. Like, I think that, alienation really is like it's the idea is every beginning is faulty. It's corrupt. It's like, it's not, there's no original point, right? Like there's always something like chicken or the egg. Yes. Right. Like there's like a kind of like they're kind of mixed together. And I think that in that sense, like embracing alienation is and I think this is true about Hegel. It's very anti-romantic, right? Like it's like the romantic wants to look at and say, like, I want to find this pure beginning because there was something in that is who I really am. And then that's been lost. And I think and I think this is a completely Hegelian point that it's who I am, it's what I become through, and we were talking about Sartre before too. I think this is what he thinks too, that through all the things that I do, not what I originally was, that I determine who I am, right? And I think that that's really, that means that all the ways that I'm alienated from what I begin are important. And I think It's interesting. Ryan and I just did an episode on the modernist novel where we talk about how for the modernist novel, the beginning is meaningless and it's the end that really is determinative. But I do think that that's a really important, like the embrace of alienation is a way to kind of confront the stupidity of the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that, which I think is really important to see. This REM thing, why did they go away from that? That's criminal.
They said that it was because one, REM didn't want their song.
Oh, they didn't want to use it.
syndicated.
Okay.
Yeah, because they felt like already it would just be like everywhere they were going, it was playing.
Yeah.
But I forgot to bring up, because the whole important point there about bringing it up was that I was reading. This is probably like more appealing to Ryan, but the commenters on the internet were saying like, it's just so wrong. This would never have worked. The theme song that they were provided, of course, seems so natural, so perfect that it fits.
I see. So the point is that the hearing the REM was alienating and forced them to confront that it's not this the one that they think is perfect actually wasn't even the first. Yeah, it's great.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Robert Pippin wrote an article on Hegel called "You Can't Get There From Here," which is the name of an REM song. And so I was just doing a little video and where I like put a little clip from that song, and then I said this is from Robert Pippin, and I put Michael Stipe's face there. So I was having a little fun with that. I said, fellow REM lover Robert Pippin. I don't know. Obviously, he might be. He's kind of into like popular things, so maybe he is, but I don't know. I don't think that was what he was titling the article.
Yeah. Yeah, what was the pun? Because there's all these little jokes running through the book. I like the one about like the only escape from alienation is death, and we shouldn't try too hard. What was that?
We shouldn't work too hard for that. Right. Exactly.
And, punning on Lenin, what is left to be undone, all of that. Yeah, those are always fun in your books. Yeah.
That's nice of you.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could comment on the significance of place and community in your conceptualization of alienation. Chapter 2 in particular is where you talk about place, and you mentioned earlier, this is where you talk about Heidegger as a anti-modernist philosopher. You talk about Nazism and other reactionary political projects. But I got the sense when I was reading that chapter that many of the things you're kind of critiquing in that chapter have important implications for indigenous politics or anti-colonial politics, which are often grounded very much in ideas of place and community and attachment to traditional culture or something like that. And a friend of mine tweeted something the other day I thought was relevant here. You may or may not know, there's a nation called New Caledonia. They're a French territory, and there's been big riots in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. And my friend tweeted, great thread that explains how Melanesian solidarity predates colonization and is impeded by it. And I thought it was just very interesting in the context of what we're talking about here. So how would you make the argument or the case for alienation, I guess, for anti-colonial indigenous-based movements? And what's the significance of Fanon here, perhaps?
Yeah, well, I think Fanon would be totally on my side, actually. Like, I think Fanon's a pretty great thinker of alienation, which I'm not so sure a lot of the people that follow Fanon, that think they're following Fanon, are. I mean, Fanon's a great existentialist thinker. I mean, he's exactly in all the things that like he's very steeped in Hegel, he's very steeped in existentialism, and of course he's a great psychoanalytic thinker. So I think that he's, I think this question for Fanon, like his critique of European colonialism, and I think this is the right critique, is that the colonialist is trying to create a situation where they no longer have to experience their alienation. I mean, I think this is exactly what's happening in the two colonial wars being fought right now, right? Like they're both like, we want to create restore our homeland, right? Like that's what Putin's saying, and that's what Netanyahu's saying. So I feel like That's the argument against the colonialist gesture. And I do think that there is a problem with indigenous as a watchword for politics, right? Like, I think that's why I think alienation, but also just the words that are much closer to my heart, like freedom, equality, solidarity. Like, I feel like the problem with indigenous is, like, where do you draw the line, right? Like, where do you draw the line? Like, okay, like we're all indigenous from somewhere, but you know where that is? It's not where we are now. We're all indigenous from Africa, right? But we're all like, that's a problem. I think Ryan and I have talked about this maybe too many times, but this ancestry.com or whatever, when you want to find out where you're from. And I always say, look, I can save you a lot of time and money. You're from Africa. Like, that's where your family's from. We're from Africa. All of us are African, right? And so that's the problem I have with this idea. And I think there's a slight I don't know, have you guys thought about this? Is there a slight contradiction? Maybe not even slight, maybe it's massive, between the fact that there's so much support for indigenous population. Obviously, I'm against the colonial. Hopefully that's foregrounded, the colonial attack on peoples. But the support, the like using indigenous as a signifier, and then also being on the side of immigrants, right? Like, doesn't that seem? That's always struck me as very bizarre. Like immigrants are, just by the very name itself, are not. They're like not indigenous people. So I just want to say, like, which is it? Like, which is the thing we're supporting? Are we in favor of immigration? Are we? And I would just say neither of those terms can be really leftist terms. I just don't think they're leftist terms. I think they're identitarian terms, and they're tied to place. And I think that, I mean, immigration not, of course, but indigenous seems like to me a very problematic signifier for the left. Like, I don't think it's a leftist signifier. And I understand that might be a dicey thing to say, but I don't know what else to say, because I just don't see it. And again, that doesn't mean I support colonialist programs. I mean, I think that our grounds for attacking them or critiquing them should be other, because I just don't think you're going to win at the indigenous game. Like, for one thing, I just don't know where are people indigenous. Like, I know where they are, and that's none of us, right? And it's none of even the people that are supposedly attached to that signifier indigenous, right? Like, they had to come there, right?
Yeah.
So I get, maybe the argument is that they came there first, but that's a weird kind of John Lockean argument about property, right? Like, it's just weird. Like, it's weird, like you're against Enlightenment, but then you adopt Locke's argument about property and who does the property belong to? That seems like, why first? Why is first have priority? That's like a weird, almost capitalist kind of relation. I don't know. So I have a whole problem with that. So I'm not afraid to talk about it, but it's not a popular position, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we spoke to Žižek for the Freedom book, was just when Australia was having this referendum on Indigenous and Aboriginal rights. And one thing that'll interest you is that the Conservative Party's campaign was, if you don't know, vote no, which I thought was, it was very effective.
Yeah, that's a good slogan. Yeah.
But it was these exact themes. It was indigeneity and immigration. And like the big anxiety in Australia is what they term boat people who come to Australia illegally, right?
Right.
Incredibly small numbers that were never a true concern. The figure of the outsider, et cetera, et cetera. Right. But it seemed clear to me, along the same lines that you're saying, that what we could have rallied behind was the idea that, like, Aboriginals were the first boat people, or that we are all boat people, and that would be the universal position to engage with.
It's always more effective too, right? Like, I think it's always more effective. Like, that was the great thing in the U.S. civil rights movement, right? Like, it was like, okay, this is a universal. Everybody has to be part of that. So I think that otherwise it becomes identitarian and then ultimately a right-wing project, right? Like, at least you're putting a leftist project in right-wing terms, which I think is always a dangerous thing to do.
Just on this community topic. I don't know if you've read Ilan Kapoor and Zahi Zalou's book on universal politics.
Yeah,
And they have
I
a
think I was
section.
a reader for it. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
section where they try to apply, I mean, they call it they refer to it as negativity, I guess, rather than alienation, where they're trying to apply it to different, climate change and what have you. But there was this interesting thing they said, which was that their politics, similar to your alienation politics and the idea of the public, addresses everyone, but then it says, while still dividing people. So it embraces everyone, but still divides people. And they say, such as fighting climate change deniers who seek to defend their private interests. So again, I guess it's that whole thing of how do we reconcile alienation and the public whilst at the same time having to enter the symbolic order and potentially creating, how do we avoid the dividing, I guess is
I don't know that you can. I mean, the only thing I would say is those climate deniers are divided from themselves too, right? So in that sense, like they're part of that universalist movement, even that's opposing them, right? Like I think, and so that's what I think is important to always stress. Like I mean, maybe this is too liberal on my part, but I do feel like it's important to allow everyone to see themselves as part of the whatever the universalist claim is, right? And so even if the movement's gonna take away like millions from me, I can still see the way in which, not that I'm benefiting, but that it's speaking to me, like it's speaking to this alienated part of myself. And I feel like that is an important gesture. And it sounds like that's what they're kind of saying in that book too, right? Like I think that's important. Like I think not that everyone, I'm obviously against universal belonging, but that everyone can see that they're a part of the universal non-belonging, right? Or everyone that can, and that's what I like about alienation as this idea that everyone can see themselves in, everyone can recognize alienation as part of what is that speaks to their subjectivity, right? And so it's not like, oh, someone else has a certain, like no one has I think I might even say this in the book, like no one has a priority of alienation. Like I get more of this than you, like this, I don't know if this is a term in Australia, this is like victim Olympics. Like there's no like alienation Olympics where someone is like ahead and has more alienation. And I like that about it. Like there's a universality to it that I think is really important.
Cool. All right. So I can see that we're very close to the 90 minutes. We'll just make a decision about which question.
No, we can go a little over. Let's just fine. I'm having really a lot of fun talking to you guys.
Okay, cool.
The people I have to meet they can wait a little bit.
But I'll be at the LAC conference next year.
Oh, cool.
I'll make it down.
Did you get
sure.
you got the call for papers?
Yeah, you emailed it to me. Yeah.
Okay.
To the
I did, right. Okay.
Yeah. That's the alienation. Yeah,
that's for sure. It's or Alzheimer's, one or the
other. We had an email exchange once years ago where at a certain point you stopped calling me Michael and just started calling me Martin, right? And this for me, like I told my mates at the time, and then for a couple of years they only called me Martin.
I'm sorry, man. That's terrible. That's so terrible. I'm really sorry about that, Michael. That's terrible.
No, that's fun because like Žižek always misspells your surname.
He does. He gets me back on that, right? Yeah. And he's done it in different ways, right? Like if my first name is wrong or my last name is wrong. Yeah,
we love it. I always check.
Somebody asked him about it, and he didn't even register it as a question. Like he obviously it's like a genuine slip, so he doesn't even know he does it.
Yeah, we've asked him before. And he just steamrolled us as he does. Yeah, he just went straight over the top.
Right. I mean, he said to this person, like, "Oh, my friends, blah blah," and the person's like, "No, I mean, it's not just you're not making a joke about him.
And
it's weird."
Mikey Downs, I talk to him a fair bit, and we're always laughing about that one. As soon as a new Žižek book comes out, we search and go, "Yeah, is it deliberate?" No, I don't think so.
No, it's not deliberate. No. But it's consistent. It's definitely consistent.
Here's
Which
a
is
nice
about
long
alienation,
movie.
actually, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like that's a
yeah.
perfect alienation thing, right? Like I mean, I feel that about my name all the time. Like I hate to hear my name, but when you see your name misspelled, then you
Hmm.
really. Slavo, I used to spell my first name Tod, which is, as you know, the German word for death. So that was really, you really got to experience your alienation with that. That was great.
Yeah, because it occurred to us, at least to my knowledge, you and Žižek both really resist professor.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
was trying to think like how you conceive of that in regards to alienation.
Well, I think that's a good question. Like, I think you could critique me for hypocrisy on that, right? Like, professor is but I think it's the opposite. Like, I feel like like you get the title and then you feel sort of at home in the title, right? And so if people are calling me by my first name, I feel like they're much. I I'm I feel like I'm experiencing my alienation with them much more than the title. I mean, for me personally, that's probably not true because I find the title, but I think that if in general, I mean, I don't, maybe it's not even an alienation argument. It's more of like an egalitarian one. Like, I really find those kind of like ranking by titles noxious. Like,
Hmm.
I just have no, and like you guys, like all the smartest people I talk to aren't professors. So I find it really not necessarily an honorific. Like it's not, there's no honor attached to it.
Zizek's written much on our relation to fate, determinism, etc. And in the new book on freedom, he wrote how there's a space opened up by the non-all, the inconsistency of nature, etc., to determine or choose the causal links that determine us. A way of approaching how to relate or identify with our being determined, which is the side of freedom. And I'm thinking along the lines of types of determinism and necessities, the forced choice. Back to death drive as this self-sabotaging structure.
Mm-hmm.
You've written that it's against the utilitarian survivalist attitude, representing a shift away from the determinism of our environs. The real question here is like, how far can we go with an idea like choosing the causal links that determine us if, as we've been discussing earlier, that, death drive, for example, is unconscious?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question, really. I'm not sure I have a good answer to it, but I would say that I guess it depends on what you mean by choosing, right? Like I think we unconsciously choose it, but I do think we also have like where does I almost think that all we can do is find a way to allow that dislocation to have its say, right? Like to not, I mean, that it seems to me like the agency isn't so much positive as avoiding something, right? Like avoiding, like like not looking to an identity to solve something, not, and I think also not, like I find the thing that we were talking about, you're talking about in that question, like I find that like that determinist view, like there's something like that promises salvation from the problem of alienation, right? Like that it seems to me like that what makes that attractive to people is that it takes you away from it relieves you of your freedom. And I think freedom and alienation to me are one and the same. And I think that's a very Sartrean, we've mentioned him several times. I think that's a very Sartrean point. And so I do think, like, yeah, I don't think I don't think you have total freedom to like this idea of like I choose the things that cause me, right?
Mm.
Like I don't think it's just a wide open field. Like I'm going to, but I do think it's our very dislocation that allows us to see a certain possibility in our own past that wasn't there before, and I think, or that wasn't evident before, and that I really like that idea of retroactivity, and that like you're looking backwards and you're you're saying like, oh wait, that was the thing that actually drove me, and that's it's tied to our prequel discussion too, right? Like the prequel can expose this thing that, oh, that was the thing that actually that drove me and not the other thing. So I do think there is space for that. I don't think it's infinite space. Like, I think that there's not like you have infinite possibility. But I do think that it is fascinating to think about how you could theorize what the range of possibilities are, right? Like I think that would take a whole book to think that through, because it seems like, what are the constraints? What are the openings? And maybe it's different in every case, right?
Mm-hmm. On the historical stage, Žižek goes over and over to this example of the T.S. Eliot, right? Where, you have a completely open contingent historical field, which becomes fixed or necessary retroactively. And it's only once it appears fixed or appears as necessary that you see all of the failed possibilities along the line.
Right.
It's not as simple as like we tell our own stories, but there is a story being told about us and we're in it.
Right. And I think that isn't the hard thing. And I think this is what he's getting at with the Eliot example. And I think he uses Kafka too, is like after Kafka wrote, all these other writers before him became or Kafkaesque or anticipations of Kafka, right? And I think that isn't the idea that story that we're part of is always told from the present perspective, right? Like that, I think that's the key thing. And I think that's why, that's a way to think about the importance of retroactivity, but also the way that we can intervene in that. And I think that, but it's also, that's why we don't fit in, right? Because we're not just part of a story that's being told. Like, the story is always being told from our perspective. So our perspective sticks out from the story that's being told. And I think that's the key thing. Like, there's something about the I that's always out of joint with the story that's being told about it, because it's the perspective from which the story is told, right? So I think that's it's such a crucial idea. That's actually, we talked about Anna several times, but that's one of the little conflicts that I have with Anna. Like, isn't that what's masked in the third person narrative, that you don't get this problem of how does the I fit into it?
Yeah, as a cut, right?
As a cut, right? Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. The temporality gets all fucked up.
Right. Exactly. Because it turns out that the present, in a certain way, causes the past, right? Like, that's the problem. Yeah. But there's always two temporal lines, because you do have this chronological history also going on, or else you couldn't have this disruption of temporality. Yeah. So it's a fascinating kind of thing to think through. And I think what's really fascinating is the way that it coincides with a certain dimension of quantum mechanics, right? I think I was just, actually, when I saw Slavoj, when I saw you, Michael, like that I think his next book, he said, is going to be on Hegel and trying to think through Hegel and quantum mechanics. And he was really interesting, because he has like these scientists he's talking to, including this Carlo Rovelli. He's like a real guy. Like, yeah. And he's like, and Slavoj said, well, I said, really, you're like, he's helping you? And he's like, well, I'm telling him an idea, and he's going to say no or yes. like okay, that was okay. But so it's not too much of a demand on him. But the problem, of course, with such a book is that the physicists that could write it couldn't know Hegel well enough, and the Hegel people wouldn't know the physics well enough. Like, it's impossible, I think, to know both well enough.
There are some interviews on YouTube where he's talking to notable physicists, Sean Carroll or something. Oh, maybe I'm getting his name
Carroll.
wrong.
Yeah. No, that's who it is. Yeah, Sean Carroll's an interesting guy. I don't know him personally, but he was friends with Mari Rudy. All right. So that's another kind of connection.
Yeah. I know, because when we interviewed Milan Delar, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and he said that he doesn't follow Žižek down the quantum physics path or Christianity, and Alenka said the same thing.
Oh, both of them said the same thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Obviously, I'm I'm more invested in Christianity than Slavoj is.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Growing up, the refrain from my parents was "do as I say, not as I do," where you have this split between the materiality of our beliefs out there, the what of what we're doing, and then the what of what we tell ourselves or identify with. Anna Kornblue was saying that she was reading The Sublime Object of Ideology, and to her it seemed incredibly dated, and that the cynical mode is no longer operating in our time. But I was thinking about these conditional identifications, I know very well that X, but blah, blah, blah. But what about over-identification as a strategy? How would you pit over-identification in relation to alienation?
Yeah, I really like this question because I think it is the question that, of course, this is a strategy from Slavoj, and it seems like that is the thing that this book is arguing against, right? Like don't take up a symbolic identity. But I was thinking about this quite a bit actually, as I was not sleeping. I think that that over-identification actually is one way of embracing alienation, right? Because you're so over-identified with the symbolic identity that your distance from it becomes evident, if that makes sense. So I do think that I would want to put Slavoj's, that political strategy he developed for a while, within the structure of embracing alienation. And I disagree with Anna. I still think cynicism's maybe the dominant mood, and I don't find that book dated at all. I agree with Anna about most things, and when I don't agree with her, usually she's right and I'm wrong. But in this case, I think I'm right and she's wrong.
Yeah, I pushed back on that with her, and she wasn't having a bar of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with over-identification, the example for me was my dad was a train driver on mines full of iron ore going out to China. And people would die at work or have serious injuries, and then you would have this response from the company where more safety was introduced, and then it became this sort of red tape bureaucratic nightmare. And the company would still demand that you would, he would get into like transgression and stuff, but the company would say you have to strictly adhere to these new safety rules. But the unspoken part is like, of course, if you actually stuck to it, it would undermine
production
would slow down. And so my dad realized this at some point, and when they would ask something of him, he would say, well, I would love to do that, but unfortunately somebody didn't sign this piece of paper at 8 a.m, so I'm unable to and this was his version of like striking in the unions and so on. And it does have this like genuine efficacy when you over-identify with a position, but that seems to have more to do with its effect out there.
Yeah, I think that you're right, that it's one that more has an effect on the other than it on oneself, right? But actually, I think, doesn't it force you, like when you over-identify with the position, doesn't it force you to realize like that you aren't the position, right? Like I think there's something ironic about when you do that, right? Like because I think you can never identify with it fully, right? Like the more you try to identify with it, the more you actually confront that's why I think this over-identification does have this actual, like, gives you this experience of alienation. It could. I mean, I don't think it necessarily does.
Right.
But I would like to just hold on the possibility that it does. Like, I think the garçon de café, to take this other example of I mean, it's interesting that Slavoj never mentions that when he talks about over-identification, because that is exactly what Sartre is being critical of, I think, the garçon de café. And I think that I think what Sartre's saying is he's missing his alienation because of this override. So I think it can work either way, but I think there can be a way. Like, it sounds like your dad actually was doing it in a way that, like, he was using his alienation as a political tool, which I think is what you should be doing.
Yeah, that was really instructive to me. But then Žižek's spoken before about how monstrous, like, a father who really believes that he's a father is.
Yeah. I don't know, but I don't think that precludes like the father from giving you a little lesson. Right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I just mean more like if you have these two kind of identification on two levels. It would be over-identification in such a way that it undermines the efficacy of.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. And there is that. I think that father that believes that he's a father is the problem of like, that is the problem where it's not so much the over-identification as like just identification. Like over is too, like, I think there's a way in which not enough, and this is a psychoanalytic idea, right? Not enough and too much are the same thing, right? Like over-identification is alienation because it's too much, right? So it's also the experience of lack.
That's really funny. But having just used the dad example, the mum example for me is that my mum would always say, would you rather a mum that loved you too much or not at all?
Well, that's a good question, right? Yeah. I don't think it's a clear answer to that. I mean, too much can be pretty bad.
Yeah. All right.
Like, would you rather be Norman Bates or Marnie? I mean, like, I don't know. Like, Norman Bates is the too much, and then Marnie is, maybe, right? I don't know.
We just watched that one the other day. Marnie, yeah. It's underrated, I think. Yeah. I'd love to hear when you watch Perfect Days, what you reckon.
Okay, I will. I'll definitely let you know.
All right, I reckon that'll do it. You've given us heaps of time.
I probably should go. Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, it was great seeing you and talking to you. Thanks.
Absolutely.
So much no problem. Okay, take care, guys.
See you, Todd.
Have a good.
Thanks, Todd.
Have a good.
Bye.
Have a good rest of the day.
Cheers.
Or morning or whatever it is.
Okay.
Right, see ya.
See you, mate.
And so on and so on. 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 And so on and so on.